Alright, so this is class 12. It is April 14th.
Stay the same proportions. The title's responsible. For some reason.
And he gets pushed down.
The rest of it's not.
Alright, so we're just going to look at a few of these sites real quick. Obviously, I think everyone here understands the relative versus absolute URL issue. So it probably worked on your machine, but then it didn't work on ours. Does anybody not understand how or what caused that issue, or how one is different from the other? Cool. All right, so this is David's. It's probably the best one because it's so awesome.
I spelled the name right.
I like how you put the, what is it called?
Whoops.
When your image doesn't show up?
Yeah.
Yeah, he used the alt tags. So David did a couple things that I've noticed some people don't do. One is the alt tag. If you click on his links, they actually open in a new window, which is pretty much what you want to do all the time if you're linking outside of your site. So if you're linking internally, that didn't open a new window. Wouldn't expect it to.
You just like them.
Yeah, I just like
them.
them. They're all dead now.
Worst pet owner ever.
If he was in a show, that's why. But I'm not married, so I didn't have anybody like that to show.
Well, that's when you could have just made something up, and that's what I'm hoping that's what Nick did. This is Nick's site.
Oh God.
So this is
I
Grendel's.
didn't do that with mine though.
Grendel's page here.
Yeah.
He's a scary monster, but he's got a soft side, as you can see by the background here.
Just likes taking a across. He likes devouring Danish warriors. Beautiful. Do they must they be Danish? They have to be Danish.
They have to be Danish.
He knows what he likes.
I was about to say, he really
Tell him
likes
what
his
he
mom,
likes.
doesn't he?
Huh?
He really is into his mom, isn't he?
Well,
Brindle? Or she's more into him?
It's a really charming dog.
I don't remember.
Talking about Beowulf, right?
Yeah.
That's where we are.
It's been a long time. Long time. All right, so Nick, yeah, you had the same issue with the relative URLs.
Yeah.
We got yours fixed earlier.
But I didn't link out to another tab like you did. So can you do that with all?
so sometimes you don't want to link out to another tab. Like if it's usually if it's a link leading to somewhere else internally in your site or staying in your domain, you want to actually take your own tab to that location.
Okay.
But if you've got a link that's going to go to a different website, like Wikipedia, for instance, with the smiley, you don't ever want to send someone away from your site, so you open it in a new tab. That way they're still on your site.
Okay.
Which is kind of annoying on mobile,
Very annoying on mobile.
but on the desktop, not so annoying. It's what you want.
Very helpful.
Yeah.
on this.
Mobile as in phones or?
Yeah, like
because it opens a
when
whole
you open a new
page.
browser or a new tab on your phone, it's, for me at least, it's a pain in the ass because it's hard to get to.
Lots of ass pain.
Yeah.
Last time I had.
You want to avoid that. All right.
That'd look a lot better if you had the background.
Did you fix it and push it up?
I thought you were doing it.
No.
Sure will.
So you really took some time to draw these out, or did you have these pre-made
No, I didn't.
just in case you had to make a
drew
website like
those?
this?
I did draw this. I mean, like in Illustrator.
That's impressive still.
HR.
Yeah.
And bracket.
Right. How did you have to get it cut off? Did you put it?
I just when you put the picture
More than
there,
me.
it cuts
And that
the line
is-
off.
My wife
Mine
was
was all the way
pink hair,
across,
now
is what I'm saying.
she's not wearing
Yeah, I
it.
did it with the picture because the picture does that.
It took up the space, the rest of it basically.
Pretty much, yeah, I covered it up.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well,
Wait,
we can look at this later when you get yours pushed up.
About the real
You
good.
got it?
No,
No pressure.
What's everybody
Don't
else
hurry.
look like?
No rush.
I'm real good at,
Yours look like, bud?
updating things to get these days.
Ben, were you able to work on it?
Let's just. Where would you go to find good tutorials on this?
The
Because-
W3 schools is
Alright,
where we
so-
sent you.
so I mean, I go to one website that tell me to do one thing, then I go to another website that tell me to do another thing, and then it just kind
Yeah,
of.
there's a million resources and a million ways to do any of these things. So
Led to confusion and chaos.
yeah, I read something today. You know, the best way to learn to do this stuff is not worry about doing it incorrectly. It's just about doing it. So, you know, if you think you're doing it wrong, that's fine. What shows up on the screen? That's how you learn. You know, if you did it wrong, you'll probably know. Then you go fix it, and then you learn something.
It was so cool. I mean, I understand what y'all were talking about now. ID tags. I'm still a little off on the div because I didn't get that far down there. Really, I was just trying to.
Div's just another tag. It's a separator.
No, I meant like which one is in class. Which one goes. Which
You're talking about
one has
CSS
hierarchy.
selectors.
Right. Which one has hierarchy over the red and so forth. Like we
Oh,
said.
okay,
Yeah.
I got you.
Anyways, but I got that into there. I was like, oh, okay, I can call this one first, second, try, and fourth, or whatever, my ID tags, and then I put them in there, and then I could do more. But I was trying to go, I was thinking back to when y'all said, don't put too much in your, what do you call it? When you cascade, not CSS, but when you put too much in
Talking about inline styling? or-
inline style.
Yeah, don't do inline styling.
Yeah, like it all.
I thought that's what is it called? What I was doing then? H1 ID first, style, font.
I think I'm good.
Is that inline style?
No, that's not
no.
inline styling. That's
Oh.
CSS. Inline styling is when you do the style attribute and you provide the styling commands inside the HTML.
Like in here.
You provide it inline. You don't want to do that.
Instead of up here.
Yeah, if it's with your CSS, that's good. That's where you want it.
No, I'm sorry. I literally did mine in the line. H1 ID first style. That's what I'm saying. That's what y'all talking about inline style. That's what I did.
Oh yeah, that's bad. Don't do that. Don't ever do that.
Alright, I think mine's good at making.
That's
All
when
right.
you provide a class or an ID and then you put your style stuff in your CSS. Your style sheet file. Okay.
Here we go.
Hank the cow dog.
Y'all read those books? Great books.
What books?
Hank the Cow Dog.
Mm-mm.
That's what my dog's name is.
What's
I
that?
was about to say, it doesn't look like he heard.
No, I don't know what that is.
Oh god.
That little guy?
Don't worry about that little guy.
I'm sure it's snuck in there somehow.
That's the thing about HTML. It's really forgiving. It's not compiled. The browser's not going to say, "Hey, you screwed this up." It's just going to show whatever is in your file.
I like to save efficiency and take advantage of the browser's back and forward buttons instead
Yeah.
of adding them onto my
Certainly.
code.
Yeah. That's like reinventing the wheel.
Yeah. Why would you do that when?
Well, this is
So
this
you
is
did
pretty
my
cool.
back
So
page, Dave?
tell us how you did your button animations here.
Googled kind of.
All right. He's a true developer.
then I had trouble centering things,
Mhm.
so I had to shift everything, like, and the test, okay, come down from the top 50 pixels, and,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
and it took forever to get the pixels
But
right.
once you find it, you won't forget it.
Yeah.
It'll stick with you. If you keep doing it, it will stick with you.
I had to do it a lot.
Yeah. And one of the easiest ways to play with it, honestly, is I don't know if we showed them that they can manipulate CSS directly in the browser, did we?
Yeah. So I think we did. When you inspect
we
it,
did.
Mhm.
Yeah.
you can change any attribute you
Does that
want.
save it, though?
It doesn't save it.
Yeah.
So you can test something out without worrying about breaking anything and get rid of all your changes. You just refresh the page. So if he goes up to element style up there at the top,
Bullshit.
he can write it directly inside of that element style block.
Mhm.
I was trying to do that at work today.
The one
Oh,
above
wow.
that.
Yeah.
Element style. Yeah, right there. He could put something in there.
Whoops.
I saw it there for a second.
Did you?
Yeah.
You just refresh the page.
You need a color. or that. There you go. There it is. Right there. All right. See it?
Yep, there it is. We'll make it 10 pixels. Now you can really see it.
Yeah.
Flash is so bad.
But the thing that I use this the most for is I'll use it to get my sizing correct on different elements because you can control the padding and the margin right there. And so you can move the elements around by hand and try to get the spacing that you want in between things.
So my title seems to be responsive, at least more responsive than
Title.
the
Oh, you mean that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
the H.
Your header?
Yes, H1 block.
Those are header blocks, yeah.
Is that built into CSS that it's going to be responsive?
What do you mean it's
Like
responsive?
can you drag your window left? Not scroll, but shrink the window. So see how it,
So it's, yeah, I mean, it's going to auto line break for you.
okay.
So yeah,
That's
that
not
part's not
technically
built in.
responsive. You see a header tag, like a standard div, it spans the entire width of the screen, always, no matter what it is. And it will do whatever it has to do to try to keep that text visible inside that block, so it automatically goes to a new line for you.
If it were responsive, it would probably try to change the text size first.
Yeah.
You know, if you Apple minus sign, it'll look a little better.
It'll zoom out here. Well, my resolution is, there we go, beautiful. Anyway,
Alright.
so we're gonna move on to actual class, but y'all did good on those.
Those of you who forgot to add your images to your project and whatnot, don't ever do it again.
I uploaded everything. They were just not, whatever. They were still tagged to where they were on my computer.
Oh no, this is probably
Keith-
important
Keith
for us
sent
to
me
go
this.
over. Yeah. Oh, he sent it to all of us, buddy.
Really?
How do y'all say it?
It
GIF.
doesn't-
GIF.
It
Huh.
doesn't matter.
You
A
got
whole
it. You
class,
guys are right.
An
GIF.
entire classroom full of people who are wrong.
GIF.
It doesn't
It's
matter
correct.
that this guy says
You get
we're
out.
wrong.
Go.
No,
Just
it
go.
is GIF.
Okay.
I
All right.
agree
All
with
right.
you.
You can stay now.
Because it
It's
stands for
good.
graphic.
Mm.
Alright.
I'm gonna
It's
start
not- it's
pronouncing the
not-
rest of these words wrong.
It's not graphical, is it?
It's not
It's
Jeremiah.
graphical.
Whatever.
Jeremiah. I'm gonna start saying GIFs, and what are the other ones in here?
There's a
know.
lot of them.
Jab, Jad.
We had a
Jag.
bit. We wasted like 10 minutes of a meeting today talking about this crap, and finally our boss just went and found this article and sent it to everybody.
And now we've wasted 2 minutes of
Another
our
2
class.
more minutes. Yeah.
What's funny is that he made a website.
Well, he didn't make it. It was someone else did. Yeah.
Well, not your
GIF
boss, but
doesn't work.
Yeah. Someone made one.
y'all were calling it GIFs.
No, I've always called it GIF. He's a GIFer.
John's a jiffer?
I'm
He
a
is.
Yeah.
He's I think the only one in the office who's very, very convinced that it's a GIF, and
Because it is.
he is so wrong.
Well, it's like Jehovah, okay? It starts with a J, but it sounds like a G.
GIF starts with a G.
Yeah. Jehovah sounds like J. I'm not following.
You get my point. Yeah. Set an ass backwards.
All right, we really gotta get started. We're here to learn. All right. Crap, I left my notes in there.
Okay, that's fine.
Thought I typed them. Okay, so don't look at the screen. Who can tell me what a relational database is?
Here,
Relates to the
I've got
folder
it up
that
over
you're
here.
in.
So,
Relational databases.
What's
What,
relational?
Oh,
let's talk about that.
so I can't look at my notes?
No.
Well, it relates to itself or something else inside the database. It can relate to itself. You already said
That's
that.
what they do with
it's
the-
a type of database.
Yeah.
What does the relational mean? It's not an object database. It's a relational database.
What's in a database? What's the biggest structure inside of a
Oh,
database?
the grid, or columns and rows.
which
Columns.
those comprise a
Table.
table.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Alright.
You're talking about the keys, right, that refer to each other, or like primary
So
keys?
the relational part is using those keys. So when one record in one table relates to another record in another table, that's the relational part.
Oh.
And then to link to other things, use the foreign keys to.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, what's the difference between a primary key and a foreign key?
Go ahead, Nick.
Nick?
Primary key, it assigns a specific key value to a specific an element in the database. Like if you have like a contact, like a person and their address. But if you have multiple elements referring to the same thing in another database, I think. Those, if I'm remembering correctly, those other things get assigned foreign keys from another database, has to be created.
Okay, it's not another database. Okay, it's the same database, but a database can be comprised of many tables.
Okay.
And so the primary key is a unique identifier, a unique key, like you said, for each record in the table. Unique is the key part there, all right? It is used as a foreign key when relating it to other tables. So if you had contact number 1 here in another column that related somehow to contact in another table, you'd probably see contact ID, and it would say 1 there, and that's the foreign key relationship.
But it in itself is a primary key that's dropped into another table.
No, it's
The
a
foreign key is usually a how did I just forget that word? The foreign key is usually a primary key in another table.
That's what I just said.
Yeah, I think it. Yeah.
I don't want you to get confused with the terminology of saying, okay, when it's in this other table, it's also a primary key in that table. It's not a primary key in the table that it's sharing. Okay?
It's in its own. When it's in its own table, it's a primary key, right?
Yes.
When it is connected to another table, it is now a foreign key.
Right. You can basically draw a line between the two tables, and at one end, it's a primary key, and at the other end, it's the foreign key.
Gotcha.
Because the foreign key, you can have duplicates.
So, what data type is a primary key typically? Or how? Not necessarily data type, but what could it be? We gave you 2 options basically. It could be an integer,
Yeah.
or what did you say?
A GUID.
A GUID. So if it's an integer, it auto increments to ensure uniqueness. If it's a GUID, anybody remember how many possible GUIDs there are, or how big that data type
4
is?
to the 10th power.
It's 128 bits.
Damn.
So, which is a huge number.
Well, it wasn't to the 10th power.
No,
128 to the 10th.
that's a small number.
2 to the 128th.
Yeah, that's,
Oh.
that's a much bigger
A
number.
bit can only be 1 or 0, right?
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
See that little kid
I think that's about it. So if you want to get started,
All right. Is that all of them?
pretty much.
Okay. What is an ORM?
Object relational map.
Okay. What's the name of the one we use in Rails?
Active record.
Okay. What is its job? Oh, that's close. I'd say that the adapter's job is to manage the database. The ORM is what maps data to and from our database onto our objects. That's where the mapper in object relational mapper comes from. So, all right. So we were making a contacts app last week, or no, Tuesday, last class. Excuse me.
Turn the AC down.
Yeah,
Say
I
active
turned
record
it down
actually
just
does the
before.
mapping. Is that what you said?
Yes, it does the mapping. Now, it's got internal functionality that's doing additional stuff to the mapping. So that's why she technically was correct. I just don't like saying all ORMs do that, because not all ORMs do. But in fact, I can show you what I mean. So let me see if I can find our little assignment on here. Oop, go ahead, mouse. Code. The project that we were doing. All right. Oh, it's still up. You never close anything.
It's been 2 days.
That's pretty awesome. Okay. All right. So, active record, we just said, is the ORM. It does a lot of the mapping, okay? But it would get absolutely massive if it had to figure out on its own how to talk to every database system out there, right? So that's where this guy comes in. Can all of y'all see that highlighted? SQLite. Okay, SQLite is an adapter for a database system. So it basically takes a set of instructions, puts them bundled together in a single gem, and those instructions tell Active Record how to communicate with this specific type of database. So when we get ready to point our Rails app at a different type of database, we'll take SQLite 3 out and we'll put a different adapter gem there, but we'll leave Active Record in. But then Active Record will use that adapter gem and talk to a Postgres database instead of an SQLite database. Now the reason we didn't have to do anything special to get SQLite set up is it is an adapter that talks specifically to a flat file, a text file. It doesn't have plain readable text in it, but it serializes all your data and puts it inside of a single file. So every table in your database, every record in every table in your database, all of your table schemas, they go in there, okay? And so when we're talking about using SQLite to save and retrieve information, this adapter has wrapped up these commands into read and write operations that actually talk to a file. That's pretty cool, you know? And someone came along and said, okay, well, I can make this thing parse SQL, the language, and turn that into read and write operations. That's quite a feat, especially when you find out how small SQLite 3 really is. It's tiny. It's very, very, very tiny. Anyway, let's see, where did we leave off specifically? We had just written our contact migration, I believe. Correct?
Are you wanting us to do this right now?
Do I?
Are we following along with you right now, sir?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Do you still have the project?
Yep, got it open.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
What do we call it?
Just that.
Yeah, I called it test app. I left it up to y'all, whatever you wanted to call it, because I was going to call it Blue Jixapug, and someone got onto me. So, I'm not going to name any names, but
How did you open it up? That's a great question. Never mind.
How do you open it up?
Well, that's not what we You showed me one time. Never mind. I got it.
did you get it?
Yeah, Sublime and the file and everything.
So you're caught up.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sure. All right.
I'll have my ancestor kick your ass.
All right. So we've got nothing in our model in here, right? Okay. Now, we specified we wanted some properties actually saved, right? So our database is actually recording a few properties for us. We were using first name, last name, and email, I think is what we were starting with, correct?
Yes.
All right. So let's first let's do a generation on something so we can see some easy feedback on the screen. So, oh, whoops, wrong thing. There we go. All right. Now, who can tell me how we generate something with Rails?
Ruby new. I mean,
Rails.
Rails new.
Rails G. Okay. Rails generate G is what we use to generate things. Are you still in the right Ruby version? No, you're not. Oh, yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Okay. All right, so Rails G, right? So we've got our model. It's got its migration. It's in our database. If we want to show this on the screen, what pieces are we missing? We've done this umpteen thousand times now.
Say again. Rails G, then the name of the file that you want to put in there. Is that what you're asking?
No, I said, what are we missing from being able to show our contact data on the screen in a web page? We don't have a web page.
The server?
We don't have a web page. Right? So if I come in here and I look in my controllers folder, we don't have anywhere to put it. We haven't generated anything yet. We literally just have the back-end portion, the model portion. Okay? So how do I make a screen?
Oh.
Something with S.
Be Rails do control of, like, in the name of the pages? Is that what you mean?
Okay, let's do it without a Rails generator though. What do I need to do?
You need to start the
Rails server.
right?
Rails server starts the server. Okay, well look, I'll go ahead and start the server because people keep saying it, but that's not going to make the data show up on the screen. So here's our screen. I want my data there.
You need to set up your root.
Hey.
Hmm?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Don't you just set up your root folder?
File project.
Okay, I need to set up my root.
Your home?
I need to set my home page, my root. Okay. Where do I do that at?
Under config.
Under config. Okay.
Sure thing.
So under config, what file?
Routes.
Routes. Okay. So I open routes. Okay, there's the root, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do I set it to?
Well, first take it off the,
Okay, I'll take it. All right. What do I set it to? Okay, well let's set it to home.
But we don't have one yet.
We don't have one yet. That's what I was saying. So we don't have one yet. So we need one, right?
Yeah.
Huh?
Somebody tell me how to make one.
You said it. You should know how to make one.
Wow. It's not.
We've done this in every Rails project we've put together so far. What's the first thing we need?
Rails?
We've got Rails. Our computer.
You got it.
You're worrying me a little bit now. So what's the first thing we need? Well, I should probably define the route here, right? So let me show you a command. So in the terminal, I'm going to stop the server. Okay. You remember that rake tool that we were talking about? All right. There's another command that comes along with it that's actually pretty handy. It's rake routes. It will show you every route your application can serve. Now look at those resources. You see it's got the full resource there. It's got the prefix, which is a kind of computed name. It's a dynamic name that the server gave for it. So If we wanted to send someone there, we could say send them to the root path. Okay? It's a get. We know that, right? The URL or the URI is actually just a slash. Okay? And we send it to the home controller and the index action. It says it right there for you. So what are we missing from this equation?
Mine told me I don't have any routes to find.
You probably didn't uncomment your root.
I did. I didn't save it though, sorry. Makes a big difference. Come on now, come on. This is the simple things. Alright.
Well, okay, so let's define our route. We know we need a home route, right? What kind of action is that? If we want someone to get to our home page or to our home index page, let's not even call it home index. Let's call it something else. We're showing contacts, right? Let's be specific. Let's call it a contacts page. All right? So what do I call it? What kind of controller am I going to have? What's the route I want them to hit?
Database, I mean,
It's a get, right?
yeah.
Get. What route did we just decide we wanted to send them to?
Contacts.
Contacts / index, right? We want them to get to the index page for contacts, okay? Now if I come back here to my file, I'm going to do rake routes again. We have that additional route defined. Okay? So it shows our contacts index path, the get verb.
Does your server have to be on?
No, it doesn't. My server is stopped.
I'm still in the no rate file.
I know what?
The rate file.
Are you in the right folder?
Bless America. I saved it and it's still saying too much stuff.
Do I have to be in test app?
You have to be in test app, yes. That's the message you were probably seeing right there. No rake file found? Yeah, that's because I was in the wrong folder. Alright, so rake routes prints out your routes. So now I have a contacts index, right? I have the route for one. Where is it trying to send it to? It says the URL is going to be contacts index. It's going to get, and it's going to send it where? It says it right there.
Home index?
No. Wrong line.
Controller key on routes definition. Please check your routes.
Contacts index?
Contacts index. What's contacts in that case? Look at the line above it. It tells you.
Control?
It's the controller. So the left side of the hash is the controller. The right side of the hash mark is the action. That way, in one shot, you can tell exactly what controller it's going to and exactly what action it's mapping to. Right? Does everybody see that? Okay. So what we're going to do now is go back to our code, and inside of our controllers folder, do we have a contacts controller? We don't have a contacts controller, do we?
No.
So we probably need one, right? Who can tell me how to make a contacts controller without generating one?
Wait, make a new,
Make a new file.
yeah.
Okay.
Name it that.
Name it what?
What did you say? Contacts? You need a contacts controller?
Contacts controller.
And
.rb, right?
yeah.
Okay, just like we would make any other class. This is still Ruby, right? Okay, now what needs to go in here? It's a class, right? So what do I need to put here?
Class.
It's a good start. Class what?
Contact.
Contacts what? Are you guessing?
You couldn't hear the implied question mark?
I could, that's why I asked. But we're making a class called contacts controller, right? Just like when we made a home index in our last project, we made a home controller. This is a contacts controller, okay? So I'm gonna close this right here, put it in block. Am I done there?
Nailed it.
We're not done, right?
I feel like no, but
What's it missing? We went over it last time. Or the time before last, actually. All controllers inherit from somewhere, don't they?
Active record, colon,
No.
base.
Okay, well let's look at our application controller.
Yeah.
It inherits from action controller base, right? Okay. And it's got some added logic in here that we run to secure ourselves, right? We don't want to have to type that added logic in every controller we make, do we? So if we want that added functionality, we should probably inherit from application controller, huh? So our contacts controller is going to inherit from application controller.
Oh,
Well, they haven't figured out this year.
we don't need to because it's all ready to do.
Alright, so what are we missing now? We're still missing something. If I go back to the routes here, look at the route. What are we still missing? And forget about the route, the second route. Just look at the contacts index route. What are we still missing? The what?
Index.
Index. We're missing index. Where does index go?
Where'd you press it?
In our routes.
No,
You do that or
isn't it an asset?
it's not an asset. What is it? It's an action. That is the method on the controller. Okay? So we need to add an index method to the contacts controller class. So how do I do that?
Like the sublime.
All right.
I'll let the rest of y'all take it.
All right, now what do I do next, David?
Enter.
This is not a trick question.
Return def.
Okay.
Return end. Okay.
What now? That's not going to compile. Well, what's missing there?
Method name.
Everything.
Method name. Index, right?
Yes.
Where it's an index method. Okay? And that's all I need in this file right now.
You don't need to define.
I don't need to define anything. That's all I needed. Now, that's all I need for the controller. If I come back here and I go back to, if I go back to our routes file, we have a little inconsistency problem here because we said our route was home index. We don't have a home index. We have a contacts index, right? So let me change that to contacts index, and that makes the world a little happier, right? So let's go to our terminal and start our server. Everybody got their server started? Okay. And in your browser, hit refresh. Okay. Missing template. Kind of screams it at you. What are we still missing? What did we not do yet? We're wanting to show a page to them, right? What have we not made yet? The page. We've not made the HTML, right? So we need to make that. So where do I put that? It's not an asset. Assets are for images, style sheets, and JavaScript files. And other assets you might have, like videos, if you get to that point. Most of the time you link videos. So.
We all have to.
Huh? Nope. Public's where you put public assets and stuff like that. You're out of guesses? Okay. Let's go back. What type of framework is Rails? It's a web framework. What's the design pattern it follows? MV C. MVC. What's MVC stand for?
Model view control.
All right. All right. We missed the view. We have the model. We have the controller. We're missing the view.
You must have heard me when I said view.
Huh?
I said view.
Oh, I didn't hear you say view. I'm sorry. All right. So the view. We need the view. What's the name of the view we need to add?
The name of our application or context controller. Contacts index.
Contacts index. Okay. So how do I do that? That's not the name of the file, right? Part of it should be.
Oh, the contacts controller.
So we have the contacts controller.
I thought you were asking
What we need is a folder that matches the controller name, contacts, and inside there we need a file that matches the action name, index, right? And that file needs to be index.html.erb. Okay? 2 file extensions, .html.erb.
Why does your new file come down low and mine goes up top?
It's probably a setting he's got on here or something.
So much easier.
Yeah, that makes or breaks it right there, man.
That's it.
Alright, so we're in our index HTML file now. Let's go back. We should still be running our app. We are. Let's go back to our browser and refresh the page. Well, we didn't blow up this time. That's a good start, but it looks like the page is empty, and I'm going to say it's because the page is empty.
Page is empty.
Never know.
Okay, go back.
Mine's still uninitialized constant. What the?
So we did,
What's going on there?
under view, you made contacts.
A contacts folder,
Can you look at the contacts file?
the contacts controller.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
And then under contacts, you made the, what did you push on your keyboard to come up and you just type the name in the bottom?
All I did was right click the folder and hit new file here. That's all I did. Talk about it like that. That's all I did.
2-finger tap. It should come up. Do not folder.
Yeah. Is anybody else having trouble?
Yeah, mine's still giving me the.
Oh, well, how do I make a post?
I'm still gonna start.
Click on.
You're still what?
I'm still getting like this on starting page.
Okay.
I'm getting a blank.
Go to your routes file.
Application, right?
Config routes.
Context folder.
Okay. Uncomment delete.
Okay, where is
Then
it?
change
Well,
welcome
save to.
It's on that point.
at that. Save that guy. Then all you have to do is refresh your back.
Huh?
just a file. I need to delete that.
Rails root user.
It's still running. You don't have, you don't have to restart it.
I have to rerun my.
Did you say?
Oh, it's localhost colon 3.
Yeah.
It's still running.
Let's see.
This is the
Enable
index
domain
music is
constant.
There's something to do with that.
Okay, go back to your context control. Ah, that's why. So it has to match that name. You can't have an underscore or anything like that.
There it is.
And your file needs
That's
to be
pretty strange.
the same way. So you
It's
should
just taking a while
rename it
before
where
it
it has
goes.
lowercase letters.
Wait, that's uppercase.
No, no, I'm talking about the file name on the left. Initialize constant. Okay, go to your controllers
Okay, so
folder.
under contacts, I go new file.
Controllers, contacts.
Okay, why is that something in Canadian?
Spell it
It
controller.
won't prompt you to save, so go ahead and hit Control S.
Make sure you close this before you rename it. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, just rename it here?
Yeah,
So
just,
it keeps opening it.
that's okay. Click, right click it. Rename.
Control. Gosh, dang.
You see, it looks for the file names.
Yeah.
And then it looks at the class names. That's why these names are so important, because it looks at what code you have in the route and tries to name match these things. So it
Refresh
expects to
your
see
page.
certain names.
So how is it calling on this right now?
Okay, so, do what?
In the routes you were saying?
Okay, so when it's working properly, you mean?
Mhm.
Alright, so you have a route specified right here, okay? So get route, contacts index, okay? That means it's going to go to the contacts controller and the index action for that controller, okay? So it looks in the controllers folder, says, okay, I have a class called contacts controller, let me instantiate one of those. It does, and then it calls the index action.
Hmm.
Then it says, okay, well, I'm going to look for the, he doesn't have any code in there, so I'm gonna look for the view to return automatically by myself. So it goes, alright, well, what's the name of the controller? Contacts. Okay, so it looks at the contacts folder. It says, what's the name of the action I just called? Oh, index, okay. So I'll grab that page. It's very smart.
Have we defined index anywhere?
Right there.
No, so there's nothing.
It doesn't do anything,
Yeah.
but it's there.
Okay, that's the important part.
That's the important part. You see, that's why I wanted you, I'm glad you're asking the question, because that's why I wanted you to learn Ruby first, because now you see it's a method not doing anything
It's
now.
not an undefined method.
Right, it is still a method though, and the fact that you're not returning anything from that method tells Rails, oh, I need to go find this view by myself.
Okay.
And that's why it goes to the views folder by itself and goes, okay, what's the name of the controller? Contacts, okay, let me look in that folder. What's the name of the action I just called? Index, let me grab that action.
Does that so fast?
Look, right.
And the action was in our views folder, under our contacts folder, index.html.
Right.
Wow. How it pulls,
It's smart and it's very fast.
how, no, I mean, but, yeah, how it pulls that,
Yeah.
those and those actions in that order.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that's from start to finish how it works. So the request comes in and hits the routes, it figures out where it can go, and then it looks for the controller and then it fires the action.
Controller.
Whoever did those tutorials was a big fan of Rails. Those, assignment.
How did those go, by the way? Who was able to get to the Rails tutorial stuff online? Was it helpful?
Rails stuff's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's usually one of the places you can go
He was a big
to.
fan of Rails.
It's kind of a basic example, but we're doing a basic example here too. But they really, really like their generators. They really like using their generators, and I like knowing the generators too, but I like knowing how it works and how to make it without the generator. Because if you don't, then you're kind of, how is this magical thing happening? I have no idea. There's enough magic that happens.
He made a comment in there, he says, you don't need any prior knowledge, but it says down there, it says, If you have no prior experience with Ruby, you'll find a steep learning curve. Agreed.
Yeah.
It's a little less intimidating the longer like we're in it.
Well, that's why I want you to be more and more and more of it, so.
Still intimidating, but
It won't be.
less so.
I like your positivity, sir.
I'll show you something intimidating sometime.
Okay.
This is not intimidating.
Just what I need.
Wait with bated
Self-esteem.
breath.
Yeah.
They don't like getting those trash cans.
Alright, so does everybody have that part so far?
We're getting there.
Index HTML. Oh, are we back at
Oh, well, I just accidentally clicked on application controller. Where's the
Is this where our fun begins?
where's the pointer? John? Ah, thank you. Do I?
Is this where the magic happens on the index.html.erb?
No, we're about to fill some stuff in and we're gonna do the real magic part.
Oh, okay. So these blank pages, and that's what Dave, just to reiterate what Dave was asking, which was what I was asking in a roundabout way, is that this blank page is what you have to have in order for that blank page to show.
Yes.
Okay.
It's because it doesn't look for the at the contents of the page. It looks to see if there's a file
Okay.
named index.html. If there is, it grabs it. Now we haven't gotten to talking about, well, what happens if they don't ask for HTML? What if they ask for XML? Or what if they ask for JSON? We will, but not yet.
Hey, Jeremiah.
Yeah. Suspicion. Let me see if it's right or not. I think you need to install Node. See, on Windows, you have to have, well, Rails in general requires a JavaScript runtime dependency. And on most Linux machines, you get that out of the box. Mac, you get that out of the box. Windows, you do not. Let me see. Find URL for it.
For Node.
Yeah.
Google Node.
Yeah. Just the standard Windows installation of that and make sure it's added to your path. Afterwards, your environment path. You should be good. Thanks for circling it.
He clicked it right now.
Yeah, it said exec.js blew up, so I'm assuming it didn't have a runtime. Where did the two Davids go?
Just kind of First day.
Girl talk in the bathroom.
I'm glad that got on the recording. You're gonna go back and be reviewing and be like, "What the hell, man?" All right, so right here you can see the relationship. I answered it for them. I want to make sure everybody heard me. When a request comes into your route file, it looks at the name that you gave your route. So contacts index. It goes, okay, well, I know I'm supposed to be looking for a contacts controller. So it goes and looks in your controllers folder for a controller file, a file named with that name _ controller. So contacts controller. Looks in that file for a class declared with this name, contacts controller. Okay? It's always something and then controller gets added onto it. Alright? Then it goes, okay, well, what's the action part of my route? Index. Okay, so then it looks for a method in this class that matches that name. Okay? And it runs that code. We have no code here. But if there were code in here, it would run that code. We'll be adding some code in here in a few minutes. But since we don't return anything explicitly from here, we don't tell it to render any specific HTML file. It goes, all right, I'm going to try to figure out what I need to render by myself. And so it says, all right, well, what's the name of the controller that I'm executing in? Contacts controller. So it goes, all right, well, I need a view. So it goes to the views folder. And it says, all right, well, the name of the controller was contacts. So it looks in the contacts folder. What action am I executing as? Index. So do I have a view file named index.html or index.json? Sometimes people put JSON views in here. So it grabs that file and renders it out to the browser.
So the layouts file that's on there, standard, that takes us straight to our Ruby, Rails, and the little tutorial, whatever.
The layouts what?
Right there. Layouts and views.
Yeah.
So when we very first started
What
this, and we didn't
about
put anything on it, that's where that Ruby, standard issue, when you do localhost 3000.
No, that page is built in. Okay, at least it used to be. Maybe it's in public now. Nope, it's built in. Okay.
So if you click on layouts, then what is that? Is that just, that's what I was kind of
We haven't gotten to that yet.
Oh, okay.
We're going over that today, actually.
Cool.
So, actually, we started to go over it a little bit. You remember this? I guess we can go ahead and talk about this part. I'll wait to bootstrap the data. So, our page here is empty, correct? It's because our index page is empty, right? Nothing. All right. Is it really empty? Or just are there no tags that we can see on the page?
Right. It's metadata.
If I open this guy and I hit view page source, I actually have some HTML on there, don't I? Okay, so where's all this coming from? Oh well, this makes sense. I have no body, right? Body is what gets rendered to the page, correct? But all of this other stuff comes from somewhere. Where's it coming from?
Folders and stuff.
Rails.
Well, yes, Rails, but more specifically, this has to be defined somewhere. Where is it?
Assets.
Not assets.
Huh? I thought you looked at the first thing.
I'm talking about where's the HTML, not these files. Where does this HTML come from?
Action controller.
It comes from our layouts folder here. Okay? So, if you look at the application file here, okay? There's all of the HTML. The reason why I was waiting on somebody to answer is because we've talked about that part before. Is two classes ago, I think. Because we started talking about this and saying, okay, well, if you look at these anything in between these types of tags
Oh, yes.
gets run as Ruby code, right?
Yes, okay.
So what is style sheet link tag, JavaScript, include tag, and CSRF meta tags? What are those three things?
Ruby files.
Nope.
Oh.
Nope. If anything in here can be run as Ruby code, what do you think that is?
So those classes?
No, but you're closer. They're methods.
Oh, no.
They're methods that I'm giving parameters to. The application string is the first parameter. The second parameter is a hash that is taking a key that is a string, and its value is a boolean. See? I could put a comma here and add another key value paired to it. I don't need to though.
It's a hash.
That's this part
Yes.
after this is a hash. And right here, this is a hash. Okay? Now, we haven't discussed yield for a very good reason. For people just learning Ruby, yield is very complicated. So we're not going to talk about it in terms of code just yet, but we will. But right now, I want you to understand that yield means, when it's on this page, that whatever view is being rendered to the screen, like index.html, that's where it's going to be rendered to. It's like someone takes it and just slaps it on the screen wherever we put yield. We could put other HTML inside of here. We could put a few HTML tags like panels right above this, stack them one right after the other, and put yield deep down into the structure if we wanted to. And our entire index view would be deep in that HTML structure then. Okay? So all of this is standardly HTML. All this means is I'm going to replace this tag yield with another view. When I change pages from index to an about screen, that index page is removed from here and the about page replaces it. Okay? This is where the file yields its content. Okay?
So is
So-
it actually doing something?
Huh?
It's literally doing something.
It's literally doing something. So, now that we've talked about that'll lead into a little bit of a discussion we have later about something called partials. But right now, I want to get back to what we were doing in our contacts controller. Now, on our contacts view, we have nothing, right? Well, just so that we know the page is rendering properly, let's just add a header tag. And let's say what it is. This is a contacts page, right? And maybe we'll put a horizontal rule here, okay? HR is the tag for a horizontal rule, okay? You'll see that? I just have HR/enclose. All right. Now if I go to my screen here, and refresh, now we have content. All right. So we're getting somewhere. Yay, getting somewhere. Happy things, right? Okay, I'm not feeling it, but okay.
Yes.
All right,
Magic.
there we go.
Is that
Magic.
responsive?
Okay. No. So this is a good starting point for where we want to maybe show our contacts. Okay, this is an index screen for contacts. This is pretty traditional. This is where you would put that information. I want to see the index of contacts. Okay, so let's show them all. So, did everybody follow along and put contacts in their database last time? You did? Okay. So if we go into Rails console, you remember we can say contact.all and I've got two contacts in there. I've got a contact for myself, and I've got a contact for John. Incidentally, I gave my contact John's email address because I don't want to be email blasted by the class. Everybody have data in their database? Does anybody not? David, are you good? Good? Do what?
You just typed contacts into the terminal.
What I typed contact the class.
You gotta control C first, you gotta stop running.
Yeah, you got to stop your server. Okay, stop your server, and then open Rails console, Rails C instead of Rails S.
Actual control. No, right. No, right here.
Okay.
Sorry.
So then Rails C. They should open pry, and then you'll type contact the class dot all. Okay, remember those are class methods. We talked about them last time. Active record adds these class methods onto our class. That way we can query for different contact elements in the database. So I'm saying all because I want all of them back. Okay? So I get back an array there, right? So I want to show some of this information on the screen, on the web page. I don't want to show all of it. I don't want to show the created at, and I don't want to show the updated at. That's a little bit too much information. The end user probably doesn't need to know that, right? So I need to run this code somewhere. I need to run contact.all somewhere. Where do you think I need to run that code? There's really, in this particular stack, one of three places. The model, the viewer, the controller. Where do I need to request contact.all?
In the view?
That's where we need to put the contacts.
Oh.
Controller.
The controller, okay? So, if I go back to my source file here, in my contacts controller, inside of the index method, we're going to put some code. Now, just to prove that this code runs every time, okay, we're going to start by printing these out to the console. You can always do that. It's a Rails application, yeah. You still have access to the console though. So we can use that to debug some, right? So let's run contact.all here, okay? And what's that going to return? It's going to return all the contacts, right? So I'm going to assign it to a variable called contacts. And then just like we did in our console applications, I'm just going to say puts contacts. Easy, right? All right, so I'm going to go back to the terminal. I'm going to start my server. I'm going to go to my browser.
I'm sorry, what was the C though on the Rails C? I know I typed it in there.
Rails C is short for console, just like S is short for server. If you just type Rails inside of there, it'll show you what all the options are and their shortcut. The S and the C is just shortcut. You can type out the whole word if it helps you remember. So on my contacts page, I just need to hit refresh, right? So if I refresh here, maybe a few times, okay, nothing's happening here, but it shows me that request on my terminal, right? And so look right here, look what we've got. We were dumping those contacts to the console, and look right there. There they are. Both of them. Now we don't see any data about them. If you want to see some data about them, what we need to do is something a little different. We need to, in the same place, after we call all here, what do we need to do? Huh?
2 strings.
No. There's a few different ways to do this, but let's do inspect. Okay. So I'm going to go back here, refresh my page again. The request got issued. So in my terminal now, we got a lot more information about what it is. So everything below this purple header right here, down to this rendered statement, that's my array. So it says it's an active record relation, which is a type of array. Okay. And inside here I have a contact with that information. And then I have another contact with John's information. Okay? So I can see I'm pulling back data, right? Now the challenge is getting it on the screen, right? So there's no way for you to guess this part. So this is magic. So we're gonna do it, and then I want you to do it 5,000 times on your own. Okay? So let's go back to the controller, and let's get rid of this guy. We don't want to put him in the console anymore. We want to put him on the page, right? Okay. We can keep this exact code. The only change we have to make to it is that we need to instead set contacts as an instance variable. Okay? This is some Rails voodoo magic going on. Okay? So inside of my index HTML file now, I'm going to write a loop in Ruby, but I'm going to do it inside of the ERB delimiter tags. Did I lose anyone? Everybody process that. Everybody follow?
Brackets.
Huh?
It's the percent sign.
So what's the Rails delimiter here for ERB? You just saw it several times.
The percent arrow.
Arrow percent. Okay. Do I put it equal or do I not?
Yes.
No.
50-50, man, you missed that.
That's true.
I was trying to think of yield when I said
All right.
no.
So here's the reason why you couldn't have guessed it. This is the magic part. Okay? Because I assigned it as an instance variable here, the corresponding view to that action can also see the instance variable. I know it makes no sense, but it can. So I can say add contacts. I want to loop through them, right? So I'm going to say dot each do, and we're doing this for each contact, so I'll call the local variable there contact, okay? Right? And then I need to put a close percent arrow on that line. And just like in Ruby, I need an end for that. So inside of another set or another ERB delimiter, I need to put end. Okay? Now, inside of here is where we will put our element information, our contact information. So just because we've wrapped this in kind of pseudo Ruby-ishness does not mean we can't write HTML in here. We can. Okay? So for what I want to do is I'll make an unordered list, and every list item in there will be a contact. So I'm going to have an unordered list wrap up this guy, right? Just like that. That's what a UL is, unordered list. Okay? And inside of my loop, I'm going to say I want to put a list item. Okay? Now, inside of this list item, let's put the person's first name. Okay? So, to do that, I'm trying to access something that's in the Ruby code again, right? So I need another Ruby delimiter. This time, do I need the equal sign?
Yes.
Probably.
Yes, I do. Why? Because I'm trying to get what I'm evaluating put on the screen. I don't want the contacts each do whatever to be put on the screen. That's just a loop. It's going to return iterating numbers. Okay? Or it's going to run iterating numbers. I want to put the first name on the screen, right? So I'm going to say contact.firstName. And I'm going to put a close. And if I refresh the page, there they are. I've got real data on the screen now. Pretty cool. This is cooler. This is the part that used to kill me because I'd have so much fun with it, to be honest. But let's leave the server running if you can. Here, I'll leave this up. Where did my page go? Okay. So we see that we've got Jeremiah and John here. Okay. Now, if I go into another terminal, I'll add another one. Okay. I'm going to go into Rails console. Y'all don't have to do this part. I'm just doing this for example. I'm going to grab the first contact that's in the database. Okay. It's me. And I'm going to change the email to be my old email address. Okay? The commit worked. I can see it in my data here that is now the email address. And on the page, that didn't do anything because I'm not showing email. Alright, let's change the name. Contact.update first name Jeremy. Why not? My family calls me that, so refresh.
Where did
There
you
we go.
pull it? I'm sorry, how did you select that ID? I didn't see select that ID.
I just requested the first one.
Where at? I'm sorry, I guess
That's fine. Right here.
Oh, contact out first. Yes. I
Yep.
see it. Okay.
Can you go back to the index HTML
Sure. So does everybody understand what's going on in this file?
No,
Okay.
quite.
What's your question?
Just how. I guess I'm not understanding how you're pulling the information from.
Okay. That's okay to be a little confused by that, but what you will get to where we understand it. I'm not going to gloss over it.
Okay.
So the reason why you're talking about how we got this guy, right? How in the world did we get that? when it's over here. So when the Rails rendering engine grabs this HTML file and starts building it, okay, this file obviously doesn't render out this code, right? So it's processed first by the ERB engine. That's why it's called .erb. If we called it .something else, that would imply that another engine needs to parse it before it's sent out. Okay? But the ERB engine looks through this, runs the Ruby code, and puts the output from that Ruby code on the page, and then it's sent out. Okay? So when that engine is actually running this code, it's processing the file, it is injected with visibility of almost everything it needs to know about the internals of the contacts controller, including its instance variables. So because we assigned it as an instance variable here inside the method, when that request is processing, you can imagine that it's processing right here. Okay? So when that line of code is running, it's still inside the method. So it can still see the instance variable. And so that's how it gets the data from the controller method. Alright? It's a little weird. But as we get to more examples and we get to making more bigger actions, you'll see that we will not always let the default page return. Sometimes we'll do redirects. Sometimes we will render pages that don't match the action name. Stuff like that. But they'll always have visibility on the information that was in the controller that fired them. Does that make a little more sense? Okay. The Rails magic stuff is it's a steep curve. It is. And you will forget a lot of it is happening. There's so much going on in this behind the scenes I can't even describe to you what all's going on. Because, for instance, if I did this number, so we're at contacts index, right? I just requested something else that was a type that didn't exist. Okay.
Tried to do first name dot last name.
Let's see what we've got next.
How did I do that, Dave?
First name, dot last name.
Yeah, I was contact up. Would I just have to put the same list?
I guess so.
Can you go back to your code?
Is that it? What you need?
Let me see if I can figure
The
it
index
Hey.
page?
No, where you updated the contact information?
Oh, in the console?
Yeah.
out. Another list.
Here you go.
Comma.
So you,
All right. So this is a method we haven't talked about on in Active Record. Okay. You're going to see a lot of these. It's just going to take playing with Active Record. You're going to have to do a lot of playing with some personal projects and a lot of research to find all these methods because there's hundreds of them, and we don't have time to talk about all of them. But this one in particular is called update. We call it on an instance of a particular class that is backed by Active Record. So this is not big C, this is little c contact. This is just the variable name. Okay? So contact.update. Now, I provided first name Jeremy. Okay? What is this? From right here forward, what is that?
A hash.
That's a hash. Thank you. Now, this is a symbol matching the attribute name that I want to update. First name, I want it to set it to this. I can put a comma here and list as many attributes on that model that I want to update as I want. And it will run that update statement and update every one of the attributes I wanted to update on that record in a single SQL query.
So you would go comma, last name, whatever, comma, email.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That's still considered a key.
Huh?
The first name is a
first name is the key. Yes, it is a symbol, right? This is just the alternate way I showed y'all of writing it, right? Because the real way this looks is colon first name with the arrow pointing to Jeremy, right?
Can
Yeah,
you
yeah.
update created that?
Yes, you can. You're talking about the attribute created out right here?
Like, could you?
Can I change it, basically, is what you're saying? Yeah, you can change it to anything you want. All this created at does is it's the migration file. Let me bring it up for you. So,
Oh, I did that 3 weeks ago, I swear. See? I created that. You can change that? What?
so right here,
What you want to? What you need to cover your-
remember the migration we created that creates the table? Okay. We don't have an updater to create it out here, but we do say timestamps. So that's what does this. This is a method that comes from an active record migration that says, oh, do you want timestamps on there? Okay, well, I'll create the 2 columns for you. So active record takes care of 2 things, their creation and their management. Every time I update the model, you'll notice that it changed the updated at stamp. Okay? So right here, I was 119.02, here 22.39. Okay? It automatically updates it for me. I don't have to say, oh, by the way, I updated you, stamp the updated at. Okay? It does that. The same on creation. If it's the first time it's being created, it will set the value for me. But I can change either of these values to anything I want. I can override that. It'd be a pretty horrible system if you couldn't. So, but yeah, I don't even have to have them, to be honest. But they're good for ordering and sorting things. Because sometimes you want your newest contacts, sometimes you want your oldest contacts.
I think Dave's saying he wants to cover his ass.
I already said yeah, you can change
Okay.
it. Yeah.
I'm assuming any boss would know that.
A good one would.
Would there be a timestamp for that time?
No, but there's records in the SQL log.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody clear on the stamps? Good. Okay.
I was asking, how do you, in our index page,
On the page or in the code?
in the code,
In the code.
right there, index.
I give up.
Oh, index HTML? Okay.
Yes.
Windows is stupid.
Are we doing another, to get the last name, would it just be a whole nother list, another?
Nope, we could put that right here. We could say, okay, well, I want to put it side by side, so I list first name and last name.
Okay.
That's what you wanted to do.
I did, but I didn't know I had to do another ERB. I thought I could just do a period, dot last name again. But it
No,
wouldn't work.
because what would that do? You're talking about, you did this right here. You said first name dot last name right here?
Yeah.
Okay, what's that doing? Anybody want to try to tell us what that's doing?
Well, it didn't work.
I know it didn't work, but what's it doing?
Would it try to bring the last name of the first name?
It's trying to call a method called last name on a string, because contact is an object, right? It is a contact object. We called the method first name on the contact object. What does that method return you?
The first name of
The
that
first
object.
name. What is first name?
A
It's
definition.
it's a string.
Oh, just string. Okay.
So it returns you a string. So you just tried to call a method last name on a string. A string class doesn't have a method called last name.
Yeah, because it reads it from what's last. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So contact first name and contact last name. Now before we break, I want to show you something else that we can do with it. That's fairly quick. Let me go back to this. I was going to get off on a tangent there, but we don't have time yet. So we have our names, first name and last name, right? Okay. So if I go down to my, lost it here. Why is that off the screen? Did I zoom in?
Oh, yeah, equals.
What'd you do?
Get for in 10 seconds or less.
I have broken Sublime.
Oh.
There we go. All right. Oh, still broken. Okay. So if I go to our contact model here, okay, let's say that full name is something that I'm going to be using pretty often. All right. I don't want to have to combine their first name and their last name every time I want to put the full name on the screen, right? What's a way I can solve that here?
Oh, write a definition.
I-
Call full name.
Yeah, why not? So I'll make a method called full name, and in here I'm just gonna return a string, and I'm gonna use string interpolation for this one. So it's gonna be a combination of the first name and the last name.
This is where all that last couple weeks helps us out. Yeah. Oh my God. Thank y'all for showing us that. Now you're able to call it an instance variable even though we didn't make it one somewhere else.
It's not the. Well, I'm sorry. What do you mean we didn't make it somewhere else? Before I preemptively answer the wrong question.
First name, last name. You were just generating it as an instance?
No. Okay. That's a good question. Maybe I didn't explain that well enough. So, over here in our data, if I say contact, let's say x equals contact.last. Okay, that's John. Okay, so I have a variable called John, right? What type is it? What class is it? It's an object of class type contact, right?
Okay.
Now, it has a value, doesn't it, for first name and last name? These are instance variables.
Mm.
It got initialized with that data because we had it in the database.
Okay, so I go back to where just to see that. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. That's the Rails console right there.
No, I'm sorry. What where I found it was in Sublime was under migrate. Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay. So when I request a contact from the database, its first name, last name, its email, it's created at, it's updated at, gets filled in with those database values. So I'm not physically setting it anywhere, but Active Record is. So as long as it's not a new contact, it's one that exists in the database, then if there's data in the database for that attribute, it will be there.
And you can't do that on here. You have to do that through the.
I could set the value to be something here if I
I
wanted
meant
to.
like you couldn't add a new one here. You want to add it in IRB. I mean, Pride.
Well, we're going to make it to where we can add contacts through the browser. We're going to make a new screen that you can create a new contact and add it to the list.
Okay, cool.
We just haven't made it that far yet. So these do have data by the time they get here.
Okay.
So that's why that works. So the last thing we have to do is we don't even have to change our controller here. We can just go straight to our index, and instead of calling all this, we can just say full name. And it just runs the Ruby code.
And I guess it's over time and practice that we'll know what folder, what file to look
That's
at.
going to take repetition.
Okay.
Getting used to know, okay, is this a model, is this a viewer, is this a controller? You know. Okay, so there's two things. As soon as I say this, we'll stop for our break. But Rails is kind of a gift and a curse, I'd say. Because Rails is very good about making people productive. It's very good about making people productive. But it comes at a cost with new developers because they get shoehorned into thinking everything has to be a model or a view or a controller. All right? And that's not the case. Sometimes in big applications, bigger than this, you will have classes that are objects that do work, but they're not active record models because you don't need them backed by a database. Okay? But there's a world of object-oriented programming that you have to bring to this framework, because if you're just starting out, it's very easy to get caught in a pattern where you're like, okay, I need to either put this in a model or a view or a controller, and sometimes it doesn't belong in any of the three. Sometimes it belongs somewhere else. Okay? So just remember that going forward, that these basic examples that we're doing for the first little while we're using Rails, pretty much everything we talk about doing will either be in a model, a view, or controller as it pertains to Rails. So if we're changing Rails functionality, then we might be in config or something like that, or changing something to do with the database schema maybe, making migrations. But other than that, when we're talking about adding something to the functionality of your app, okay, it's going to be a model, a view, or a controller for now. But there is life beyond MVC, even in Rails. So just don't get shoehorned into the future into thinking, well, everything's got to be an active record model, or I shouldn't use it. You know. Anyway, we'll stop recording here for now, and